it's a real privilege to introduce Peder Jungck. Hi, Peder, how you doing?
Doing all right. Great to see you today.
And thank you for being a real-life, unsung cyber hero. There's something out there on the internet that you're president of the ITISAC.
I think underneath the corporate side, I'm a longtime cyber person and really one about information sharing, and that's where gotten to be involved in just a phenomenal nonprofit that helps defend our critical infrastructure.
And it turns out the defenders, people like you, don't get enough thanks. So let me begin by just saying thank you for being who you are and what you do and why you do it. This is going to take a collective effort, to be sure.
We all talk about things like the MITRE ATT&CK framework, and we watch automated attacks against us, but I think we're now in a world where we can send in the bots as far as defenders and really start even leveraging this to a great way. And as we talk about AI in the country, transparency, developing trust with it, how do we understand what it's doing? The ITISAC is one that even Scott Algier, who's on, and many others really helped to found and create more than 20 years ago, and really leveraging what I think is the #1 advantage we all have as cyber defenders. And that is the ability to openly collaborate and share. And so that's where, as we look at this, kind of what I wanted to kind of pose for the team is really thinking about AI sec. And what I mean by that is being able to embrace AI in a way that we get out of the contention of AI. And that's really leveraging, big A of automation, empowered by AI. I'll talk about that. But to really in this, let's go after the tasks that take the time to accelerate the cyber KPIs. I look at the ransomware impacts that we all go back to. Well, I just done good backup hygiene, but I also think we need to have a starting point, and that's where there's a great barrier. I believe in the talent, the people, the humans making that decision, because it changes too fast. But once you've made that insight, that is where go in and be able to have the bots be able to carry out those actions that you can then audit and understand and control and have that view. One, I think we need to embrace domain agnostic AI operations framework. What I mean by that is not built into a tool. If we're going to get the ubiquity, we can't make it stuck in $250,000 tools that we can't kind of share. The second place is we can't get AI being implemented in cyber different than we are in the enterprise. The two need to understand how they're doing it and getting domain agnostic. The other is when I look at AI SecOps, I've said it a couple times, big A, little I. And so to look at kind of what I mean by that, one, those three in wrap circles on the left is what I all too often see. I'm getting very frustrated with people showing, here's AI, but AI is really machine learning. And inside that, here's deep learning. And we need to all talk about that. That is incredible technology. It is going to be very useful. It is also very expensive. If we instead think of AI as automation, leveraging AI, and we start to expand our understanding of even AI includes things like computer vision, robotics, natural language processing. This is the transformational event that's happened over the last few years. We are now getting to the point of not just scripting, of an automation to go do something, but most of us know you might have 10,000 machines in a cloud and you're just going to deploy a patch. You're going to have the failure rate. And those failure rates aren't going to predictably do it in the way that your script's there. But you can see in the yellow, there's certain things we can really go address in cyber, from everything of augmenting our data. I might need to go log into 5 commercial services that I have and build myself a report to open up a trouble ticket. The other big thing that I would really say is we've been very good at going from, we had network operating centers, we then said a security operating center is separate. But I think the place that will start to bring all of these together is us to really embrace what I would call a robotic operating center. And at the same time, in the bottom, this needs to be a skill set so we can reconstitute our systems on the fly. It takes a lot of time, but yet not a lot to come up with how would you do that and be able to automate that. And I don't think a lot of us would have a hard time if AI's use was to simply log in, do our backup systems, create those copies, go do all those steps so that if a ransomware came down, that you could then go in and just say, okay, bring down the network, reconstitute to last night. Those are the types of things that we all kind of know. It's not about wizardry, but yet these are the benefits of leveraging kind of the advancements. And you're starting to see, like in the top right, there are the big RPA companies, but we're now also getting it so that it's commoditized. And this is where, from an ISAC point of view, my view is not just those of us who sit at large multinationals, but how do we go in and come up with things that can answer for everybody? I think we can actually start to pivot this, because the thing we have is that ability to really share, defend, go beyond. I brought up a few of these different kind of concepts, but I believe, AI and automation, this is the most critical and consequential pivot I've seen in my 20 plus years of cyber to really be able to get us ahead of that curve and put the adversaries on the run. I really believe that, as we look at this, it needs to be integrated into what we do, not just some one magical tool that has this, but a framework that can leverage everything, and also the heterogeneous set of tools that we're all going to use that will help make it harder for adversaries. I don't want us all to go to one tool set or one way. And that's where I think the sharing of these knowledge engines, that is the power of AI and cyber. And that's kind of where I wanted to bring to this team. I appreciate your opportunity, because I look forward to hearing the debate on some of those views, but hopefully that evokes a couple of perspectives that I offer to you.
Thanks, Peder. That was incredibly interesting. You just compacted 20 years of experience into less than 20 minutes. That's deserving at least of a round of applause. So, thank you for doing such a great job at that. Wow, I don't even know where to begin to unpack that, but let me just kind of start with a question that I have heard quite a bit from a lot of thought leaders. And that is this notion of AI, I'll use air quotes, replacing, human beings. And from what I'm getting from what you're saying now, it's kind of like AI will be able to do the nuts and bolts of things to free people up, to be able to do the more creative and strategic things. Help our audience understand that kind of concern that some people seem to have.
Yeah. And if you're going to put it against adversaries, we're not competing against a piece of software that's malware. We're competing against people constantly remixing those to be able to come after us in cybersecurity.
Right.
So first off, the current state of AI and the current state of cybersecurity is not one in which those two are well matched. However, though, when we look at AI as a field, there are parts of AI that have really advanced. Take computer vision. One of the biggest challenges we had in automation is people might change a web page over and over and over, and they move the login button, they move the click of where you're going to go do that. But computer vision is one that can say, oh, okay, you move the OK button. We as humans can find the OK button, things, but yet those were the challenges when we did like our PowerShell skips or Ansible or whatever it may have been to try and automate patch management. Microsoft comes out with a new update and the window changes, or an extra prompt comes up and it asks you for something. A little bit of natural language processing can say, that's just an alert of something to know. I'll capture that text, send it to the operator, click OK. This is actually the OK button that you were looking for that says, do you really want to apply the patch? And it succeeded or it failed. Those are technologies of AI that are very powerful, but when we think of the scale of infrastructure defending, the hundreds of security controls we're trying to apply, the rapid delivery of those, let's use that. And that's where I really look at tie AI as human machine teaming. Let it be my support assistant.